Shalom Israel, Shalom, Shalom. Brother Naquam, watchman for Israel, coming back at you with these precepts. Add another cold cut, giving, of course, all honor and all glory to Yahweh. By Shema Mashiach Malak Yabushai. Double honors to the elect elders of the house of David that's been in this truth for decades and decades, patiently waiting for the second coming of Mashiach Malak Yabushai. A hearty, mighty shalom to all of the mighty men of the Most High God who are out there on the highways and byways, pushing this truth, magnifying the ministry, presenting their body as a living sacrifice, and doing all things for the elect's sake. Shalom to those men, those apostles, prophets, teachers, evangelists, ministers, the men of the Lord who are out there and doing all things for the elect's sake. Shalom to those men. Shalom to all of the men that may not be out there on the highways and byways as of yet, but they're working on it. They're getting built up in the spirit. They're praying, they're fasting, they're studying, they're being diligent and abounding in the work of the Lord. Shalom, shalom. Shalom to all of the Aquath out there, the sincere sisters out there, holding it down in the households. For those that are married, reverencing their husbands. For those who are not, and widows, keeping the law, statutes, and the commandments, moving in the spirit of our righteous foremothers, and abounding in the work of the Lord. Shalom, shalom. Shalom to everybody tuning in live. God's jewelry, Brother Azariah, Shalom King from Egypt to Israel. Love Pius, Salome Williams, David Barksdale, K. Adawan, Shalom, King James, Dennis Rodman, Israel, Michael Williams, Nahum Yasha'Allah, 2E6, HBKN, Adaya Yah, Yafe Israel, and everybody else tuning in and that will tune in, Lord willing. Again, it's a Monday Night Fire. All praise to Yahweh Shai. Doomsday Clock announcement and current events. Right, we're living in exciting times. We're living in very, very exciting times. Doomsday Clock announcement and current events. So for those who are outside of the loop, then you would know, or you wouldn't know, that the Doomsday Clock announcement is going to be tomorrow, right? Tomorrow, I believe at 10 a.m. If you don't know what the Doomsday Clock is, we're going to go into it. Went into it last week on the Shabbat, covering, measuring the times diligently and going into certain prophecies. The Doomsday Clock is one of the so-called white man's measuring sticks to show how soon we are towards doomsday and the end of the world. Rather, that's a nuclear disaster, climate, uncontrolled chaos, you understand, other major uproars and seditions and anarchy. He has a particular way where he measures time to show how soon we are approaching the end of the world. And you can tell we're in the end of the world. The average man out there in the streets of random cities, they know and they can feel that this is the end, man. If you were to do a survey and ask the average person out there, are we in the end times? They would say, I think so. Well, yeah, this has to be the end. Everybody's talking about the end of the world, man. They're making movies about it. They're making books about it. You understand? People are knowing that the Most High is touching the earth. And we're going to show you the Doomsday Clock that they have set up, what it's about, and we're going to show you the Most High's Doomsday Clock, certain prophecies and certain things that we have to look forward to that are going to come to pass on the earth, and also touch on some major current events that are going on the earth right now. You got sex trafficking, lewdness amongst celebrities. You got NATO being constantly divided between Turkey and Sweden. I mean, there's so much going on. I'm looking at this stuff. Global recession, food prices increasing, men being murdered in prison, the debt ceiling. I mean, we got a lot we want to get into. So I'm not going to beat around the bush. I'm not going to play any games. I want to get right into it, right? First and foremost, I want to get this precept, right? First and foremost, I want to get this precept, right? And brothers know what precept we're about to go into, right? If you're watching, you know what precept we're going into. Second Esdras. Matter of fact, I'll pull it up on the screen, right? Let's do that. Let's pull it up on the screen, and then we'll go from there, right? Let's let this thing be manifest. Let's go to Second Esdras 6th chapter. So brothers should be able to see this thing. All right, give me 1 second. Okay, Salaki, bear with me. We're going to go through these precepts, go through these current events, and break it down through the spirit and power of Yahweh Bashmi Yahushua. All right, Salaki, yeah. So we're going to go to Second Esdras, the 6th chapter. All right, bear with me. See that? Because when you go into certain chapters deal directly with biblical prophecy. I mean, second chapter, the 5th chapter, the 9th chapter, the 8th chapter, the 7th chapter, the 15th chapter, the 16th chapter, the 11th, the 12th, the 13th, they all go into prophecy. Revelation, the 6th chapter, right? The 9th chapter, you know, well, 7th chapter, all of these chapters deal directly with biblical prophecy. And we have to go into it. Let's go to 2nd Ezra, chapter 6. And I want to go to verse 20. Now, if Satan is causing this thing to go slow, then I'm going to just, read straight out the text. All right, so let's see. I'm going to gauge this. All right, 2nd Ezra, chapter 6 and 20. Actually, I'm going to start at verse 17. 2nd Ezra, chapter 6 and 17. And it happened that when I had heard it, I stood up upon my feet and hearkened. And behold, there was a voice that spake, and the sound of it was like the sound of many waters. Now, who has the voice of the sound of many waters? Well, that's none other than Hamashiach Wamalak Yahushai, the King of Kings and the Lord of Lords. So Ezra heard the voice of the Lord, and it said, behold, the days come that I will begin to draw nigh and to visit them that dwell upon the earth. Now, how is the Most High going to visit them that dwell on the earth? Through his judgments, through seditions, through spirits created for vengeance, through chariot sightings, or what the world calls UFO, UAP sightings, through the overthrowing of governments, through the revealing of the wicked and their dark hidden conspiracies and secret ceremonies, man, through wars and rumors of wars, through pestilence, through famine, through the breaking down and the destruction of an economy. This is how the Most High is visiting the earth, man. The Most High doesn't visit the earth how they show you in the Christian church. And then these movies, man, where white Jesus comes and is extremely pacified, man, and meek, and hold hands with everybody and just put kids on his lap all day. The Lord visits the earth by his judgments. You understand? By destruction. Right? The Most High said, I will begin to draw nigh and to visit them that dwell on the earth. Who's to them? The inhabitants of the earth, man. The wicked and the righteous are being visited by the Most High, because if we're the righteous, we're seeing this visitation right now. Verse 19, and will begin to make inquisition of them what they be that have hurt unjustly with their unrighteousness, and when the affliction of Zion shall be fulfilled. Meaning what? We have a time limit for this captivity. We have a time limit for this punishment. Remember, this punishment is not forever. The Most High said in Baruch chapter 4 and 6, yea, we're sold to the nations, not for your destruction, but because they moved God to wrath. So we were sent to America and these other captivities, Salakia, not to be exterminated. We were sent here to serve a punishment. But that punishment, that time is coming up. Right? Let's go to the book of 2nd Maccabees. I'm going to open up another one. Right? We're going to go to the book of 2nd Maccabees, the 6th chapter, and show you that. Everything is measured and weighed in the balance by Yahweh Bashem Yahushua. Our punishment is weighed in the balance from the time we were brought over here on slave ships to the time that we're delivered is calculated by the Most High. Not only Yahweh Yahushua knoweth the day and the hour. He's the only one that knows how long this thing is going to be to a T. Right? Let me see what precept I was getting again. Okay, 2nd Maccabees. All right, Salakia. Let's go to 2nd Maccabees, the 6th chapter. And I'm going to get into these current events, but I have to bring this out to show you why you have a doomsday clock. Because at the end of the day, who created the doomsday clock? The Most High. The Most High put it in the spirit of these Edomites, these top scientist Edomites, to be able to create a doomsday clock to show man the handiwork of the Lord and to show man how close this place is to is finished. Now, does the so-called white man have the exact second? No. Nevertheless, the Most High put in his spirit to show you how close we are to getting out of here, man. Right? and in the spirit before that of the prophets, man, and the men of the Lord. So this second Maccabees, chapter 6 and verse 12. Now I beseech those that read this book, that they be not discouraged for these calamities, but that they judge those punishments not to be for destruction, but for a chastening of our nation. Slavery, gator bait, lynchings, hanging, police brutality, being torn in pieces by wild beasts, horrific scientific experiments. These things was done for our chastening, right? Meaning our punishment. Remember, we're the son of the Most High. And the Heavenly Father, of course, he's the Father. And any father is going to punish his son. Any wise father. Verse 13. For it is a token of his great goodness, when the wicked doers are not suffered any long time, but forthwith punished. For not as with other nations, whom the Lord patiently forbeareth to punish, till they come to the fullness of their sins, so dealeth he with us. So the Most High has it on the timeline where the nations have to cap out and max out at their sins. So America's sins started here, and then they increase, and then they increase, and then they abound and bound and abound and abound. And then once they cap out and reach that limit, that's when the Most High sends infinite judgments on the earth. Right? That's what this means when it says, for not as with other nations, whom the Lord patiently forbeareth to punish, till they come to the fullness of their sins. You may say, well, how come America is not destroyed right now? How come this society is still lasting? How come people are still going to work? How come the economy is still going on and flourishing to a certain extent? Well, the Most High has this society on a certain measurement. And the more sins that they add to this society, the closer they are to being taken out the earth. And once they come to the fullness of their sins, it's over. As they approach the fullness of their sins, the Most High focuses his punishment on us. Once they cap out their sins, the Most High redirects his punishment on us and turns it to the other nations. Lest, 2 Maccabees 6 and 15, lest that being come to the height of sin, afterwards he should take vengeance of us. You see that? So the Most High has this thing measured to a height. Their sins are measured to a height. And that's why when you read the book of Revelation, which I'm gonna pull that up. Right, let's go to Revelation, the 18th chapter. The Lord said, her sins have reached unto heaven, and the Most High hath remembered her iniquities. So why would the Most High say her sins have reached unto heaven? Because they capped out or maxed out at the sins, man. And once they max out, that's when the Most High begins to visit the earth. Right, let me get that real quick in Revelation, the 18th chapter. Right, let's go to Revelation chapter 18. It's the exact same thing the Most High does with every kingdom. He did it with the Babylonians. He did it with the Medes. He did it with the Persians. He sent Daniel to Belshazzar and told him, your kingdom has been found wanting and given to the hands of the Medes and the Persians. He told him, your kingdom is over, man. Your time is up. Right? Revelation chapter 18. And I'm going to start at verse 4. And I heard another voice from heaven saying, come out of her, my people, that ye be not partakers of her sins, and that ye receive not of her plagues. For her sins have reached unto heaven, and the Most High hath remembered her iniquities. So they capped out, man. They capped out at their sins. Like you pour liquid into a cup, it rises and rises and rises. And once it hits that brim, that's when the Most High sent his hand on the earth. And he starts breaking this place down. Because the Most High hath remembered her iniquities. And back in 2nd Ezra, the 6th chapter, the Most High said, and when the affliction of Zion shall be fulfilled. So our punishment is according to the sins of these other nations. So as they peak the height of their sins, simultaneously, we are ending our punishment. That's how it works. The Most High hit the timer, just so you can, not that there's an actual time in the third heaven, but just so you can get the picture. The Most High pressed the timer, it counted down, one timer, was for the affliction, for the sins of the nations, right? So they're increasing in time, increasing in sins. And then another timer is our punishment in captivity. And they're going to go off at the exact same time. So when our punishment is over, these nations begin to get jammed up. This is the exact same thing that happened when you read the book of Genesis, the 15th chapter, right? Let's get that in Genesis chapter 15. The Most High did the exact same thing with the Amorites and the land of Canaan. There is no new thing under the sun. He's doing the exact same thing with the Amalekites in the land of Israel right now, man. As they become more wicked and reach the peak of their sins, our punishment is getting sooner to being over, right? And it's winding down. This is the book of Genesis, chapter 15, and verse, I'm going to start at 13. And he said unto Abram, know of a surety that thy seed shall be a stranger in a land that is not theirs, and shall serve them, and they shall afflict them 400 years. So the Most High gave Abram the time. This is the time of Egypt. That's what this captivity is talking about. It's not talking about America, right? And also, that nation whom they shall serve will I judge. You see that? So it's the exact same thing. We have a time period of affliction, and also that nation has a time period to heap up sin until the Most High judges them, right? And also that nation whom they serve will I judge, and afterward they shall come out with great substance. And thou shalt go to thy father's house in peace. Thou shalt be buried in a good old age. But in the fourth generation they shall come hither again, for the iniquity of the Amorites is what is not yet full. So the sins of the Amorites had to be full in order for us to enter into that land. The same day we entered to take down those Canaanites during the time of Joshua is the exact same time the Amorites reached the peak of their sins. That's how Yahweh Shemi Abishai works, man. So again, that helps give the understanding behind 2nd Ezra chapter 6 and 19. Let's read this again. And will begin to make inquisition of them. Would they be that have hurt unjustly with their unrighteousness, and when the affliction of Zion shall be fulfilled. So our affliction is slowly coming to an end as these kingdoms slowly come to an end, right? They work hand in hand, right? Let's read on. And when the world that shall begin to vanish away shall be finished, then will I show these tokens. The books shall be opened before the firmament, and they shall see all together. So what does this mean? The Most High said, and when the world that shall begin to vanish away shall be finished. This is the time that you're living in. The world is beginning to vanish away. Sovereignty is beginning to diminish. People obeying governments and being sheeple and puppets, that's slowly beginning to diminish. What's going on in Peru right now? They're overthrowing their government. In Haiti, it's coming to America. It happened in Europe. It's still going on, and it's only going to increase. Nations having dominion over their citizens, that's vanishing away. Economies that once flourished, and imports and exports and dominated maritime trade, that's slowly vanishing away as this global recession begins to come into play. Things that once were the foundational principles of a society, all of those founding blocks are beginning to just break down. And every kingdom on the earth is falling apart. Every kingdom on the earth is falling apart. Even the ones that the world esteems. Even your so-called, because Esau, he liked to break it down and say, well, look, no, that's just the third world countries. Countries like Somalia, countries like Kenya. We over here, we're the first world countries. America, England, France, even your so-called first world countries, they're beginning to vanish away. And the Most High is showing his tokens. What is a token? A sign. We're going to go into these tokens. The books shall be opened before the firmament, and they shall see all together. And we're opening the books right now. The books that it's talking about It's the Bible, right? You might have your Bible and your Apocrypha. These are the books being opened: Genesis, Exodus, Leviticus, Numbers, Deuteronomy, Joshua, Judges, Ruth, 1 Samuel, 2 Samuel, etc. Man, these books are being opened, and everybody in the earth is watching the handiwork of the Most High, whether they believe it or not, right? Because they may not believe what's going on, as if it's people will chalk it up to Mother Nature. They'll chalk it up to bad planning, but this is the work of the Most High, and it's our job to watch. Esau, where is it at? The Doomsday Clock. Hold on, bear with me. Let's pull this back up. Right, where is this at? I had this ready, lined up. Okay, I may have to go into it again. Right, let's go into it. Doomsday Clock. We went into it, somewhat on the previous lesson, right, that we did on the Shabbat. But now we're going to go into the Doomsday Clock, right? So you may not know what the Doomsday Clock is, right? And I want to go into let's go into Reuters, right? So the Doomsday Clock, again, like we brought out earlier, is a clock that ticks down by the second, and it shows how close we are to the end of the world or to the end times. That's essentially what it serves. That's its purpose. All right. Now, the so-called white man, what he does is he updates this clock every year or so. He may do it twice a year. He may do it 3 times a year. Okay, let me pull this up. And then it gives you a real-time update about what's going on. And let me actually pull up a picture of the Doomsday Clock, right? See, I had this pulled up earlier, but now I got to kind of go back into it. So here's an actual image. It's an actual clock. And remember, the Most High created this clock. The Lord said in the book of Proverbs, chapter. So the Most High is running the show at the end of the day. He put it on the spirit of these devils to be able to show you somewhat of what time that you're living in. Because the average Jake, they're not going to believe the men on the highways and byways. They think that we're homeless. They think we don't work. They think we're just out there to get on the so-called white man. They think that we have nothing else to do. We're a domestic so-and-so group. They give all these labels to us. So they don't believe us. But now you got the so-called white man putting a clock out there. And I mean, now what, man? Proverbs chapter 21:1. The king's heart is in the hand of the Lord. As the rivers of water, he turneth it whithersoever he will. So the Most High got the mind of these nations in the palm of his hand. If the Most High say go right, they go right. If he says invade this country, they invade this country. If he says create this missile, they create a missile. If he say make a doomsday clock, they make a doomsday clock. The Most High is controlling their mind, and he do whatever he want to do. Why? Because he's Yahweh Bashmi Yahushua. Right? Let's go to Daniel chapter 4:35 real quick. Right? You got people saying, well, why would the so-called white man make that, boy? Well, the Most High made him make it. Right? This is the will of the Lord. This is the book of Daniel, the 4th chapter. Then I'm going to go to verse 35. Then I'm going to pull up that actual clock. Right? And they're going to update it tomorrow around so-called, I believe, 10 a.m. Right? We're going to go into it. But I believe 10 a.m., they're going to move that hand, Lord willing, closer to midnight, man. Right? And we want it to be closer to midnight. We want these devils to stress out. And a lot of these Edomites, man, they're nervous right now. They're quiet. They know about the Doomsday Clock, man. They was quiet at the workplace. They used to laugh and joke. They're not even joking anymore right now, man. They used to talk about the big game, but they know about this Doomsday Clock. See, the Negro and the Hispanic man and the Native American man, they don't know. They're not up to par with current events. They're just watching, who's that woman, Christian, Blueface. They're watching the NBA playoffs, the NFL playoffs, and that's all that Jake is into, man. But these Edomites, they know about the Doomsday Clock. They might call it out of work tomorrow. They're on the edge of their seat, man. Their sons are crying, hoping that hand doesn't come close to the midnight. We hope it comes closer to midnight. We hope that these Edomites get stressed out. They get depressed. They put their head down, But let's go to Daniel chapter 4 and 35. Daniel chapter 4 and 35. All the inhabitants of the earth are reputed as nothing, and he doeth according to his will in the army of heaven, and among the inhabitants of the earth, and none can stay his hand or say to him, what doest thou? So the Most High said that, man, you got a reputation for being nothing, because I'm the Most High. Right? The scriptures say the Lord do what he want to do. Nobody can stay his hand. Nobody could, if the Most High put his hand to cause judgment on the earth, no man could turn that away. And no man could check the Most High and say, well, what are you doing? Why? Because he's Yahweh Bashmi Yahushai, man. So he's the one creating these prophecies, and he's the one that declared these things from the foundation of the world. So here's this Doomsday Clock. Watch the Doomsday. See this right here? Watch the 2023 Doomsday Clock announcement. January 24th at 10 a.m. Right? At 10 a.m. And, Lord willing, I believe right now, we're going to go into it, but I believe right now it's about 100 seconds to midnight or so, or 2 minutes to midnight. We're hoping that they push this thing 3 seconds to midnight. 1 second to midnight. Now, again, just to put this out there, does that mean Esau knows all of the breakdowns? Right? No. This is what he's just seeing based off of the world. That the missiles being created, how we're approaching war, right? Famine. He's watching this place too, man. So this is from the bulletin of the atomic scientists. What time, right? We put that as a thumbnail. What time will it be in 2023? Tune in January 24th for the 2023 Doomsday Clock announcement. Doomsday Clock announcement. Right? What is the definition of doomsday? Let's pull up doomsday definition. Doomsday definition. Right? You got people, wow, I don't know. What's doomsday? Is that a day of, is that after Passover? Right? What do I wear? Can I cook on that day? Right? Brothers are asking, can I cook on doomsday? Right? Can we buy on that day? Hey, here's what doomsday is. The last day, I like this definition. The last day of the world's existence. The last day of the world's existence. In Christian belief, the day of the last judgment. A time or event of crisis or great danger. So doomsday is the day of judgment. That's what doomsday is. Doomsday represents the end of an age. Like we went into it earlier. We may go into it again, but it says the last day of the world's existence. And again, and we're going to go into it. This word world, they make you think that it's talking about the earth. A lot of times when you're dealing with the so-called white man and his fantasies and his lewd mind, his concept of doomsday is the destruction of the entire earth. Oftentimes you'll watch a movie with a villain or some bad guy and they want to stop him from destroying the earth. And he has this big red button that he presses from outer space and destroys the earth with a laser, man. He has some big laser that blows up the earth. That's not doomsday. That's a fable. Let's go to 2 Peter chapter 1, because we gotta clarify even before we go into the current events, which we're still going to go into, Lord willing. We got a lot we want to go into. We have to get the understanding on what is doomsday. Let's go to 2 Peter chapter 1 first. right? Let's go to 2 Peter, the first chapter. Cannot believe us. See, Esau has his definition of doomsday. Then we have to go into the biblical concept of what doomsday is and what it has in store for the elect of the Lord's people, the 2/3 of the Lord's people, the so-called white man, and all these other strange nations. 2 Peter chapter 1 and verse 16. For we have not followed cunningly devised fables, when we made known unto you the power and coming of our Lord Yahushua HaMashiach, but were eyewitnesses of his majesty. So the apostle Peter and John and James, when they talked about Yahushua, they didn't have to make up anything. Oh, I heard the Lord was. No, they saw what the Lord was. They watched it. So they told straight up the counsel of what the Most High gave them. They didn't have to make up anything because they were eyewitnesses. We don't have to follow cunningly devised fables. We are eyewitnesses of his majesty. Meaning what? The breakdowns, the prophecies. The word is manifest not so much as in the flesh, but through what? The word in the last days, through the comforter. And we're eyewitnesses through what the Most High is bringing out through the precepts. So we don't have to follow cunningly devised fables and believe the rhetoric of the so-called white man and his breakdown of what doomsday is, right? Their understanding is warped out. When you go to Ecclesiastes chapter 1, right? Let's go to Ecclesiastes, the first chapter. The Most High speaks about the earth, right? Ecclesiastes chapter 1 and 3. Right, let's deal with it. Then I want to go to another precept right after this, Lord willing. So this is the book of Ecclesiastes, right, Salakia, chapter 1 and 3. What profit hath the man of all his labor which he taketh under the sun? One generation passeth away, and another generation cometh, but what? But the earth abideth forever. So the earth will always be here. The earth will never explode. It will never be destroyed. There's no matter how many missiles are going to be on the earth. Even when Yahushua returns, the earth is still going to be here. Is it going to be in the exact same state as it is now? No. It's going to break down and be corrupted, and the inhabitants that dwell therein. But the foundation of the earth will always be here. The structure, the form, the elements will always be here. There won't be, because the so-called white man, we want to travel to this planet because the earth is polluted. We want to start a colony, and that's just madness, man. So don't think you can escape. Esau also got his movies, man. He got Elysium. I'm not sure if brother saw that. If you watch the movie Elysium, it shows that the less privileged, poor people got to dwell on the earth, and the rich elites, they could dwell outside the firmament and some space heaven called Elysium. Well, they have good health care, and they have clean air and fresh grass, and people can go on jogs and ride bikes and eat fine dining and wear the best clothes, and the people on the earth live in the damn hellhole, man. That's those fables. Don't bring those fables into this truth. Let's go to Psalms chapter 1:16, if I'm not mistaken. Let's go to Psalms chapter 1:16. That's why precept must be upon precept, precept upon precept, line upon line, line upon line. Here a little and there a little, man. Otherwise, you'll be caught out there, bringing that understanding into doomsday. Okay, no, I want Psalms chapter 1:15, right? I want Psalms 1:15. Psalms 1:16 is good, but Psalms chapter 1:15 is good as well. And I want verse 16, just to give you another account that links directly up with Ecclesiastes chapter 1 and 3. All right, so let's go to Psalms chapter 1:15 and verse 16. Okay, bear with me. It says Satan got this thing kind of rolling slow. Even the heavens are the Lord's, but the earth hath he given to the children of men. You see that? So there is no dwelling place outside the earth where you have life. Don't believe Esau, where there's life on this planet. We have to travel to the galaxy of so and so, and we'll find other men. Some people say men left here and went there, and they're going to come back and pick us up and take it. That's madness, right? That's madness, man. There's nobody that was here before. Then they left 5,000 years ago in a ship, and they're going to come back to this place, right? And take the resources and bring it back to their home planet, planet Xenon. The Lord said, this is it. This earth, that's what we got. He has given it to the children of men. So doomsday, when it says the last day of the world's existence, it's not talking about the planet Earth. The word world means age, right? That's what the word world really means. It's the last day of an age. An age is a time period. What time period is this talking about? The age of Esau, the world of Esau. Etymologically, the word world means a period of time. Let's go into that. So when we understand doomsday, it's the end of a time period. The time period of the so-called white man's rulership and the beginning of the Israelites' rulership. And we want to go into the etymology, right? So let's go into this. The word etymology means the study of truth, or the study of the origins of words. Okay, here's the word world. Okay, Salakia. Let me zoom out a little bit. Old English, a world, human existence, the affairs of life. Also, a long period of time, right? A long period of time. Esau, he convolutes the world and earth. And Psalms 90:2, the Most High made the earth and the world. The Lord called us a world without end, right? The human race, mankind, humanity. Okay, here's what you want. From the German Welt, with a literal sense of what? Age of man. Age of man. That's what the world, that definition really applies to. The age of man. But you have different men that were set up on the earth. You had different worlds, different ages, right? The so-called white man calls it an era. You may know it as an epoch. Let's pull this up real quick. These are different worlds. So I want to pull this up. I'm going to close this out, then pull that up. Okay, so bear with me. I want to get this definition. Okay, so here's the definition of an epoch, right? A period of time in history or a person's life, typically one marked by notable events or particular characteristics. An era, an age, a period, a time, an eon, a point in history. So this is the world, or the end of the world is the end of an age, an end of a people that ruled the earth. We went into it on a previous Sabbath lesson that you have three worlds that the Most High created. You have the elder world, you have the present world, and you have the world to come. And each world essentially, well, the first two worlds have a doomsday. The third world does not have a doomsday. Let's go to 2nd Ezra chapter 7 real quick. Right? Let's go to 2nd Ezra, the 7th chapter. And we're going to show you doomsday at that world in the Bible, right? Through the spirit and power of Yahweh by Shema Mashiach wa Malak Yahushua. Right? 2nd Ezra chapter 7 and verse 11. Because for their sakes I made the world. And when Adam transgressed my statutes, then was decreed that now is done. Right? Then were the entrances of this world made narrow, full of sorrow and travail. There are but few and evil, full of perils and very painful. For the entrances of the elder world were wide and sure and brought immortal fruit. So what is the elder world? The elder world is the time before Adam was exiled out of the Garden of Eden. Now, the so-called white man, he doesn't talk about the elder world. He talks about the prehistoric age, the ice age, the stone age, the iron age. He brings out all of these different ages. He got these dinosaur, pre-lithic age, all these dinosaur terms, man. Neolithic, right? Cenozoic, Preambic. He got all of these different names he just makes up. The Most High calls the time of Adam the elder world. But that world had a doomsday. What was the doomsday of the elder world? When Adam got his judgment from the Most High. Right? When you read that in Genesis, the 3rd chapter, that was the doomsday of the elder world. Now the elder world is over. You don't have access to that age anymore. That time period is long gone. There were only few men that were able to dwell and live in the elder world. That world was wide and sure and brought immortal fruit. Right? Now the world we live in is full of what? The Lord, let me read the previous verse. Then were the entrances of this world made narrow, full of sorrow and travail. There are but few and evil, full of perils and very painful. So this world is evil, man. This world, you might get shot. This world, the food is fake. And this world of this age, you deal with stress and pain and depression. This world, you deal with troubles, your enemy, affliction, sorrow, people committing suicide, right? Violence, temptations, demons, captivity, wicked thoughts, defiling of souls, lewd behavior, sodomy, freakism, madness, and vanity, man. That's what you get in this world. You didn't get that in the elder world. Right? Let's go to the book of Galatians. Let's go to Galatians, the 1st chapter. Right? And we're going to go into these current events too. Like I said, we're not going to leave no stone unturned. Right? If we got to kind of extend the lesson, it will extend the lesson, man. But we can't leave no stone unturned, how they say, man. Galatians 1:4, who gave himself for our sins that he might deliver us from this present evil world, according to the will of God and our Father. That doesn't mean the earth. The present evil world is talking about this time. These people and this realm that we dwell in now. Right? That's what it's talking about. When you go into this word world, which we do often, let's go into this, that he might deliver us from this present evil world. This is not the same world in John 3:16. This world is where you get the word eon from, right? Which means an age or a period of time. So you got eon for the word world, and you got cosmos, right? You have to have the discernment to know what it's talking about. Let's play this. Okay, it might not play. That's okay, but it says eon or aion. Okay, it means forever, unbroken age, perpetuity of time, eternity, period of time, and age. So Yahweh Shai was sent to deliver us from this present evil time, from this evil age, an age of pollution, an age of chemtrails, an age of captivity, an age of wickedness, man. And tranny this and wicked this and sticking this in your arm, and it's nothing but madness. So that's the second world. When we talk about doomsday, and the end of the world, it's talking about the world that's mentioned in Galatians chapter 1 and 4, the present evil world. All right, this eon, this age of man. And that doomsday, we're going to show you the signs of that doomsday. Right? And then also, so like, let me go back to this, right? From the present evil world. Then you have the world to come. Let's get that in Hebrews chapter 6, right? Let's go to Hebrews, the 6th chapter. We're going to talk about the third world. You have three worlds: the elder world, the present evil world, and the world to come, right? Hebrews chapter 6 and verse 4. Let's talk about it. For it is impossible for those who are once enlightened and have tasted of the heavenly gift and were made partakers of the Holy Spirit and tasted the good word of the Most High and the powers of the world to come. So certain men tasted of the powers of the world to come. They know about the kingdom. They know about immortality. They may have had visions and dreams. They know the prophecies. They know the breakdowns. They know about the spirit of truth and zeal and the knowledge of God. But then they begin to fall away, backslide, and look back like Lot's wife and drift off back into darkness. That's the world to come. We want to make it to this age because this world to come is a world without end. This is an age of rulership for the Israelites forever and ever. This is the only world that does not have a doomsday. This is the only world wherein there is no violence, where there is no sex trafficking, where there is no lewdness, where there is no murder amongst each other, where there is no oppressor. This is the only world where we can be at ease, man, and be at peace. We strive to make it to the world to come, right? That's why even in the book of Daniel, the Lord said the saints of the Most High shall take the kingdom. You know? Let's get that real quick in Daniel chapter 7 and 18. Right? I want to get into these prophecies, or these current events rather, right? And get back into that doomsday clock. But the precepts, hey, guess what? They trump everything, right? Daniel chapter 7 and verse 18, right? But the saints of the Most High shall take the kingdom and possess the kingdom forever, even forever and ever. So our world is immortal, right? That's what the Most High said in Wisdom of Solomon, chapter 1 and 15. The Lord said, for righteousness is immortal. So when you keep the law, statutes, and commandments through faith in Yahweh Ba'ashem Yahushai, you have a chance to be elected to make it to the world to come. So now we understand what doomsday is talking about. The last day of the world's existence is not the elder world. It's not the world to come. It's this present evil world. Let's go to 2nd Ezra chapter 7, and I'm going to jump down to 43. 2nd Ezra chapter 7 and 43. Now it's explained right here. But the day of doom shall be the end of this time, and the beginning of the immortality for to come, wherein corruption is past. So we always knew that doomsday was not the end of the destruction of the earth. Our forefathers always knew it was about the end of this time. Did not the apostles ask Yahushua in Acts 1 and 6 on down, Lord, wilt thou at this time again restore the kingdom to Israel? When shall be the parting asunder of the times? When shall be the end of the world and a sign of thy coming? So doomsday marks the end of this time. Who rules in this time? Esau. Who's Esau? The so-called white man, aka the devil, aka the serpent, the beast, the dragon, the violent man, the deceiver, the hypocrite, the murderer, the rebel, the fool, the dragon. He has all of these different names. The day of doom is coming at his time, and immortality for us is coming up, right? Let's go to the book of 2nd Ezra 6 and 9. right? Second Ezra, chapter 6. Let's get the classic, right? You brothers has been in this thing, you know, and you sisters, you know Second Ezra 6 and 9, right? You might know it off the top of the head, man. Second Ezra chapter 6, and I'm gonna actually start at 7, right? Let me get 7. Second Ezra chapter 6 and 7. Then answered I and said, what shall be the parting asunder of the times? Or when shall be the end of the first and the beginning of it that followed? So when is the time going to shift? When is the power going to shift? And he said unto me, from Abraham unto Isaac, when Jacob and Esau were born of him, Jacob's hand held first the heel of Esau, right? You can read this in Genesis, the 25th chapter. It says, and the first came over it all over like an hairy garment, and they called his name Esau. And after that came his brother out, and his hand took hold on Esau's heel, and his name was called Jacob, right? So Jacob held on to Esau's heel, symbolizing what? That Jacob, which is the so-called Black, Hispanic, and Native American man, the Israelites, that's our forefather, we're going to pull down a so-called white man out of his power seat, out of his structure, out of his rulership. And by his heel, meaning at the end of his rulership. We're not going to take poor Jacob, didn't take Esau by the head. If Jacob took Esau by the head, we would have been out of this place if you got ears to hear. He didn't take him out by the neck because we would have been out of here. The heel represents the end of a man, right? Your heel is the last part because you got your foot and you got the heel, that's the back part. You grab him by his heel, that's the last part, man. We're living in the heel of Esau. The Most High calls it the toes, also known as the 10 toes. Iron mixed with miry clay, right? For Esau is the end of the world, and Jacob is the beginning of it that followeth. See that? So doomsday is the end of the so-called white man's rulership, the end of America, the end of Western powers, NATO, the EU, the beast. And Jacob is the beginning of it that followed. So doomsday, we have hope in doomsday. We're not pessimistic about doomsday. We don't put our head down, oh, I don't know what doomsday was going to happen. No, we're optimistic. We have faith that we're going to be the beginning of it that followeth. So again, one more time, doomsday, the doomsday clock is being set up by the so-called white man, right? They're going to reveal how close we are to the end of his rulership, right? How close we are to the end of his kingdom. He's going to let you know how close he is to getting out of here. That's why we love the doomsday clock, man. The Most High Esau to do all of these studies to let you know how close he thinks he is to getting out of here. Now, he may think he's talking about the earth. When Esau do this, he might think he's talking about the earth. But we know it's talking about his own kingdom, right? We want to see you talk about your own destruction, man. Instead of talking about, okay, what we're going to do in the year 2050. Okay, well, into infinity and beyond. Or what we plan on doing in the year 3000. We don't like hearing stuff like that, man. We want to hear you talk about how you're going to go down out your own mouth. They're going to reveal this tomorrow, 10 a.m., January 24th. All right, so let me pull this up. Hold on. Let's actually go. Okay, let's just go to this one. All right, we'll go to this one. There was other ones we want to go into. This is one of them. Okay, that's another one. All right, this is from your local, your classic. All right, we're going to pull this up from ABC. Right, ABC. The announcement will be the first since Russia's invasion in Ukraine. 2023 Doomsday Clock announcement. What to know and expect. And again, we got to clarify. Are we saying that the so-called white man has Yahushua's second coming measured to a T? No. The so-called white man, he's doing his best on the left-hand side to bring that out. We know no man knoweth the day or the hour. We know that only the Father knows. And we know we don't even need the doomsday clock to know that we're living in the end of the world, because we have the prophecies. We have the sayings of the Lord. But again, the Most High made this, right? So doomsday clock 2023, what to know and expect. Scientists will reveal on Tuesday, and I may play this, see if this gets some sound. Right? Let's see if this plays. It might not play. Now you could kind of watch it on your own. Right? Past evaluations of how close we are to the end of the world. Scientists will reveal on Tuesday how close humanity is to Armageddon with its latest edition of the Doomsday Clock. Hold on now. They're talking about, what is Esau doing talking about Armageddon? What are you doing going into the breakdowns? You know, Esau calls him, he fancies himself a prophet and as a man of the Lord. And we're going to go into that. So let me see if this is playing. They kind of giving me hell. He fancies himself a man of the Lord, man, as he proceeds to go into Armageddon. You have no business talking about Armageddon, Esau. And we're going to go into that. That's Revelation, the 16th chapter. Okay, now if this doesn't load, like I said, then, you know, we may play it later, or regardless, we may play it. You can play it on your own. Okay, so bear with me. Okay, so that's taking its time. All right, it'll play when it play. Now, Armageddon, let me put this out there. Armageddon is the last battle of World War III, right? It's the final battle in World War III. That's what Armageddon is. It means a mountain of souls or mountain of troops. And it'll be in the so-called, what the world calls the so-called Middle East. All right? Let me pull this up in Revelation, the 16th chapter. Right? Let's go to Revelation chapter 16. So now Esau specified. He's not just talking about the end of the world. Now he said Armageddon. Esau knows about Armageddon, but you ask the average Jacob about Armageddon, they're clueless. What's Armageddon? How it tastes? Where is that at? All right? What kind of music they make? Is that a rapper? Somebody ought to do that. You ought to go out there in your neighborhood or a shopping center or a mall. Things change. And ask Jake, what is Armageddon? And just do a survey. You know, count one by one. What is Armageddon? This is Revelation chapter 16 and verse 16. And he gathered them together into a place called in the Hebrew tongue Armageddon. So the Most High is going to gather all of the armies of Russia, of Babylon the Great, of NATO, you know, of all the so-called Middle Eastern nations, the Arab League, the Persian Gulf Force, the RSII, the COSC, you know, all these different military alliances are going to be gathered together in the Middle East, all right, for the destruction of the Lord. And we have a lot to say about Armageddon, which we will not speak on at this moment. Okay, so let's play this. Hold on.
Midnight. And terrible danger.
Midnight being
Unless things change.
Okay, so
unless things change, unless the arms race is reversed, we're heading toward this midnight from which there can be no awakening.
We do want to say that we are in immediate and terrible danger.
midnight being Armageddon.
So they kind of, you see Esau talking about midnight kind of being Armageddon. So what they're doing in this video is they're showing you in the times from after the World War II, during the Cold War period, that's when they began to start the Doomsday Clock. So they're giving you footage on what Esau, or how Esau is explaining the Doomsday Clock. They started from the 50s. Now I'm going to start from the beginning. and they're going into the 80s, and they're going to link it up all the way to the present time. Now listen to what this devil talking about.
Unless things change, unless the arms race is reversed, we're heading toward this midnight from which there can be no awakening.
We do want to say
that was pretty dark. He said we're heading closer to this midnight from whence there can be no awakening. Right?
we are in immediate and terrible danger.
Midnight being Armageddon, Holocaust.
Therefore, we move.
He said midnight being Armageddon, Holocaust. Right?
The clock back 4 minutes from midnight, 10 minutes before midnight. When the Strategic Arms Reduction Treaty is signed and destruction of warheads begins, we shall surely revisit this issue.
With nuclear weapons in the hands of two nations, India and Pakistan, with years of conflict between them, it is time to make a major statement by moving the clock 5 minutes closer to midnight.
So these devils, man, I know they be in there nervous, man. As they move that doomsday clock, they be in there sweating. Liver spots poking out. Look at this guy. Moving his clock to his destruction.
With years of conflict.
Now, these people have an actual name in the Bible. These men who do these extensive researching, who go deep into geopolitics, who go deep into current events, they're called Esau's wise men, right? These are just some of his wise men, right? Let's go to the book of Obadiah real quick. Actually, let's go to Jeremiah 49, right? And I'm gonna go back to that video. Those men have a name in the Bible. They're not just called the Bulletin of Atomic Scientists. The Most High called them his wise men, right? Not that they have the wisdom of the Lord on the right-hand side. They have knowledge from the left-hand side. And when we say the left-hand side, we're talking about knowledge from Satan. It's lucky. This is Jeremiah chapter 49 and verse 7. Concerning Edom, thus said the Lord of hosts, is wisdom no more in Teman? Is counsel perished from the prudent? Is their wisdom vanished? So Esau had wise men, right? His wise men, the Lord called them Teman. He said Teman was their hot spot. Teman in the ancient times was an actual city in the land of Edom, south of Judah, which was a very, 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 very lucrative place of demonic energy, for lack of better terms. And that's where Esau got a lot of his wisdom from the people that dwelt in Teman. Your modern day Teman is your hot spot of where Esau gets his knowledge from. A lot of the top Edomites, they're in Babylon the Great. A lot of them are in Germany. Some of them are in Italy. So Teman represents where Esau gets a lot of his top scientists from. Now, the top scientists, a lot of them came out of Germany. A lot of them came to America. Some was American, some was German, So a lot of these top men, they come from your modern day Teman. And the Lord said his counsel perished from the prudent, as their wisdom vanished. Let's go to Obadiah. Because the Most High is talking this talk. He said, look, y'all supposed to have this thing figured out, man. Y'all supposed to know about the end of the world and the destruction that draweth nigh. Obadiah chapter 1 and verse 8. Shall I not in that day, said the Lord, even destroy the wise men out of Edom, and understanding out of the mount of Esau? So these are Esau's wise men. And the so-called white man, he's not the only nation to have wise men. The Egyptians, they had wise men. When you read Esther, the first chapter, King Ahasuerus had wise men, Mecumen and the other 6 counselors that went with him. Right? Nebuchadnezzar had wise men and magicians and astrologers and sorcerers and monthly prognosticators to interpret dreams and visions. And all of these societies deal with a priesthood. Don't think that Israel is the only nation that has a priesthood. Then we have the Levites. We have the priesthood of Aaron, the Aaronic priesthood, the priesthood after Melchizedek. But these other nations, they have a priesthood too. Read Bel and the Dragon, they had priests. The Egyptians in Exodus, the 7th chapter, they were able to perform demonic activity, man. to counteract the forces of Yahweh by Yahweh Shah. So all nations have wise men, men that deal with mysticism, for lack of better terms. So let's go back to this. And these are Esau's wise men. These are his low-level wise men. There are wise men above them, and these are his public speaking wise men. And they know a little bit of something too.
Pakistan, with years of conflict between them, it is time to make a major statement by moving the clock 5 minutes closer to midnight.
Now, I wonder if this guy's still alive, man. You know? I don't know if he's still alive, man. He looked like he's not going to make it.
There's been no dramatic evidence that there's going to be a continued reduction in nuclear weapons.
So you see that? Hold on. In January 26, 2016, the clock remains at 3 minutes to midnight. In 2016, it was 3 minutes to midnight. Right? 3 minutes to midnight. So I want to read a little bit of this article. I'm not going to read the whole thing. For the past 75 years, hold on. For the past 75 years, the Bulletin of the Atomic Scientists, a non-profit media organization comprised of world leaders, Nobel laureates, has announced how close it believes the world is to collapse due to nuclear war, climate change, and most recently, the disease. It is a metaphor, a reminder of the perils we must address if we are to survive on the planet. So Esau thinks he can see what's going on and come up with a plan to reverse the prophecy, right? He thinks that if people take heed to the Doomsday Clock and the Doomsday Clock becoming closer to midnight is predicated on missiles, he hopes that people will stop making missiles. If it's about so-called climate change, he thinks that he hopes and longs that people will no longer pollute the air and they'll recycle and they'll stop the prophecies. Guess what, so-called white man? You can't stop the prophecies, man. You can, no matter what you do, you're going to get closer to midnight, man. Why? Because this is the Most High's program. This is Yahweh Bashem Yahweh Shah's thing, man. Right? Let's go to 2nd Ezra chapter 14. Right? No matter what you do, you're not going to be able to stop this clock from ticking down. It's ticking right now as we speak. Believe it or not, that clock is ticking down. Let's go to 2nd Ezra chapter 14. Right? We're going to get this word world again. 2nd Ezra chapter 14 and verse 11. For the world, see that word world again. For the world is divided into 12 parts, and 10 parts of it are gone already, and half of a 10th part. So the Most High has a clock. If you look at a clock, it's divided into 12 parts, right? Based off of the ancient knowledge of it being 12 hours in a day, right? Even Yahweh Shah said, are there not 12 hours in a day? So that's where that 12 parts comes from. Now, on a spiritual level, the 12 parts is talking about time of man until the kingdom of heaven is established. So this world, the age that we're dwelling in now, the Lord put it on the timer. All right, let's pull up a clock just to get the understanding. All right, where's this actual doomsday clock? Let's look at a clock. Look at this. Okay, they got this one right here. So the Lord said the world is divided into 12 parts. So let's go back to this. For the world is divided into 12 parts, and the 10 parts of it are gone already, and half of a 10th part. So if 10 parts of it are gone already, that means during the time of Ezra, the prophet, and we'll put his time out there, let's say 457, right? Let's say 457 BC, right? That's the time that he went back to Jerusalem. right? During the time of Artaxerxes. Now, let's say it's 457 BC. During that time, it was past 10 p.m., right? Let's pull this up. Where's that clock again? Okay, during the time of Ezra, it was 10 p.m. Ezra was around in 457 BC. Think about it. Put it into perspective. If this doomsday clock, if midnight is the end of the world, and during the time of Ezra, it was past 10 o'clock, and that was well over about 2,500 years ago. Let's say 2,500 years ago. 2,500 years ago, it was 10 o'clock, a little past 10. I mean, what time do you think you're in now? Think about it. I'm going to put it out there one more time. Ezra was on the, okay, Yahushua was on the earth 2,000 years ago. 500 years or so before Yahushua was the time of Ezra and Nehemiah. So that's 2,500 years ago. Around that time, it was 10 p.m. A little after 10. So, what time do you think it was when Yahushua was on the earth? Why do you think during the time of the apostles, it's called the last days? A lot of brothers think that the last days started right now, when you came into the truth. No, the last days actually started during the time of when Yahushua walked the earth. When Yahushua began his ministry, that was the beginning of the last days. How do you know that? Because the Bible tells you that. Right? The last days didn't begin with the Mayan calendar. Okay, then right now you came to the truth. No, the last days began with the time period of Yahushua. Let's go to the book of, we brought this out earlier, right? 1 John, the 2nd chapter. Right, let's go to 1 John 2 and 18 to show you that the last days been happening. 2,000 years ago was the last days. 1 John 2 and 18. Little children, it is the last time. See that? As ye have heard that Antichrist shall come. Even now are there many Antichrists, whereby we know that what? It is the last time. He said, even now. This is around, let's give a rough estimate. Let's give around anywhere between 50 to 75 AD, right? Just a rough estimate. You said, even now are there many Antichrists. So during that time, during the time of Nero, right? During the time of Domitian, Vespasian, during the time of those Roman emperors, really it started with Tiberius. Tiberius was the third, what they may call the second, but we call it the third. He was the third emperor of Rome. You had Julius Caesar, who was a dictator, then his nephew Octavian, he was second, Tiberius was third. When Tiberius was on the scene, that was essentially the beginning, because he was the emperor when Yahushua began his ministry, right? Let's get that real quick, right? Let's get that in Luke chapter 3. During the reign of Tiberius was the beginning of the last days. Luke chapter 3 and 1. Now in the 15th year of the reign of Tiberius Caesar, Pontius Pilate being governor of Judea, and Herod being tetrarch of Galilee, and his brother Philip, tetrarch of Iturea, and of the region of Trachonitis, and Lysanias, the tetrarch of Abilene. So during his reign is when the last days actually began, during the reign of this so-called white man. Now, is he back on the earth right now? We don't know. Is Herod back on the earth right now? Yes, right? Is Tiberius? Maybe, right? Is he dead? We don't know. These men, that generation is here. So think about it. The last days started with that generation, and that generation is back on the earth right now to finish those last days. That's why 1 John told you, even now it is the last time. Let's go to Hebrews chapter 1. All right, let's go to Hebrews, the first chapter. The first generation to walk into the last days is also the last generation to finish the last days. Hebrews 1:1. The Most High, who at sundry times and in diverse manners spake in time past unto the fathers by the prophets, hath in these last days spoken unto us by his Son, whom he had appointed heir of all things, by whom also he made the worlds. So when this was written, they called it the apostles called this time the last days, when the book of Hebrews was written. So when they got that letter and they were reading it, they understood that it was the last days, right? They knew that. It was plain. So don't think the last days began when you came into the truth. The last days began during the time of Yahushua. And that generation is going to finish the last days. That's why Yahushua said, this generation, or really the Lord said, this is a chosen generation. And that's not just talking about, okay, we're good at basketball and sports and, dance. Chosen, meaning you're chosen to be the generation of the end of the world, right? First Peter 2:9. But ye are a chosen generation. If you're in the truth right now, you belong to the generation that was there during Yahushua's time. Maybe you were fed from the loaves of with the 5,000. Maybe you ran when Yahushua entered into these cities, man. Maybe you were there when Yahushua was at the wedding. Maybe you were one of the thousands of apostles who saw Yahushua ascend up into the cloud and was not. Maybe you're one of the women that washed his feet, man. Joanna and Mary and Martha. Maybe you're one of the apostles. Who knows? But you're here right now to finish what the Most High had you start some 2,000 or so years ago, man. But ye are a chosen generation, a royal priesthood, and holy nation, a peculiar people, that ye should show forth the praises of him who hath called you out of darkness into his marvelous light, which in time past were not a people, but are now the people of the Most High, which had not obtained mercy, but now have obtained mercy. So we're the generation to obtain mercy, man, to come into the truth and serve Yahweh B'Shem Yahushua. Think about that, man. You're that generation that was around during the last days. Let's go to the book. Let's actually go into some of these current events. Actually, let me finish this precept, then go into these current events. Right? 2nd Ezra 14:11. For the world is divided into 12 parts, and the 10 parts of it are gone already. Right? Putting it back into perspective, 2,500 years ago, it was past 10 o'clock. During the time of Yahushua, it was the last days. How much more time, how close do you think we actually are? Now, you can say 10 seconds, but we don't know. We can't give the actual account. You can give your best guess in the spirit. Maybe 3 seconds, maybe 2 seconds till midnight, man. But the thing about time is the Most High created time. The Most High, he's not part of time, right? Because the Most High created time. He's not subject to time. He's the Ancient of Days. So how time is for man, it's not how time is for the Most High. So we may say, okay, it's 3 seconds, 2 seconds. That in the Most High's time, we don't know. It even tells you as one day with the Lord, it's like 1,000 years to man. That's why only the Most High know at the time, on the deepest level. So let's go back to this. So one of the first things, they got this Doomsday Clock, and again, putting that back out there. They're going to start that at Tuesday, tomorrow at 10 a.m. Right? 10 a.m. They're going to move that clock. Hopefully 2 seconds closer to midnight. And I hope people kind of see this thing and people put their head down, man. Hope Jake see this when they see the Doomsday Clock, and because they don't listen to us, the men of the Lord, the servants of the Most High, right? Hopefully they see this and they put their head down, and it charges them to get right. Here's some of the signs of the last days, right? The world, hold on, I had this already pulled up. Let's pull this up. Hold on. Now this is from Reuters.com, right? Let me see where I'm at with time through the Spirit. Okay, we're making good time. All praises. All right, so this is from Reuters.com. World Bank warns that global economy, right, could tip into recession in 2023. World Bank warns. It's not the average Negro on the corner. The World Bank warned this, man, that the global economy could tip into recession in 2023. Now you got certain people saying, oh, what about my job? What about my car? I want to get my car. I want to start this. I want to do this. And we want this place to go down. When we see news like this, we get excited. This is what charges up to have a good day, man. When we see good news, this is good news. You got people, what do you mean it's good news? What about your job? What about your car? What about taxes? What about the stimulus check? And hell with the stimulus check, man. We want this place to go into the worst recession. We want the stocks to crash. We want the market to get overthrown. We want the dollar to be diminished. We want this place going down, man. And did not Yahushua say, really through the Apostle Peter, looking for and hasting until the coming of the day of God? We're in the heavens being on fire, right? And the elements shall melt with fervent heat, paraphrasing. So when we see news like that, we don't put our head down. Oh boy, what about, I was on my way to get the big promotion. I did all of this. And we're not thinking about that, man. Yeah, we use the world and, we do what we got to do, provide for our family. We clock in, we punch that button, or you swipe your badge or whatever, man. You kind of work your hours and you go home. You pay your rent, you pay your bills. You got insurance, you pay your insurance. You buy your groceries. You use this world, man. If your car got a flat, you may have to get another tire, change the flat. You need another light bulb, you buy a light bulb. You do what you got to do here. You get the point. Right? We're just here as strangers and pilgrims. So we just use the world, do what we got to do. But in the back of our mind and in the front of our mind and then the sides of our mind, we're looking to get the hell out of here. Right? 2 Peter chapter 3 and it's lucky, I went 12. And verse 12. Looking for and hasting until the coming of the day of the Most High, wherein the heavens being on fire shall be dissolved, and the elements shall melt with fervent heat. So we're looking for and hasting. What are we hastening and looking forward to? To the coming of the day of the Most High. So if you're a real servant of the Lord, you're not mad. Neither are you depressed. Neither are you, indifferent towards this talk of a global recession. A true servant of Yahweh B'Shem Yahushai, he's going to be excited. Yahushua said, lift up your head, for your redemption draweth nigh. Let's get that in Luke chapter 21. A real man of the Lord is excited about the last days, right? Because they believe and have faith that they're approaching closer and closer to the magnification of the name of the Lord, man, and the salvation of them, their households, and their nation, man. Luke chapter 21 and 28. Here's what Yahushua said. When you see the prophecies come to pass, when you see global recession, when you see war, when you see inflation, when you see destruction, when you see the doomsday clock, and when these things begin to come to pass, then look up and lift up your heads, for your redemption draweth nigh. So we're looking up, man, right? We got our head up. People say keep your chin up, right? Be optimistic. Have good hopes. Think of the best. Some people, they see these things come to pass and they put their head down because they really love this world. The only reason that you would be upset about the global recession is if you love this world and the things therein. If you really love the lust of the flesh, you really love the pride of life and the lust of the eyes, and you have become a friend of the world, that's the only reason that you would really, be upset. That is what it is, man. So let's go back to this. Where we at? Hold on. We got a lot. Like I said, we got a lot we want to get into. All right, this from January 11th, right? About 12 days ago. World Bank warns global economy could tip into recession in 2023. Right? So I'm going to read a little of this. This January 10th story has been corrected to show the Eurozone 2023 GDP forecast as flat, not at 0.5 growth. The World Bank slashed its 2023 growth forecast. See that? They slashed how they thought the economy would grow. On Tuesday, to levels teetering on the brink of recession for many countries as the impact of central bank rate hikes intensifies. Russia's war in Ukraine continues, and the world's major economic engines sputter. Babylon the Great, the EU, all right, all of these other nations, their economy is going down the drain. It's spiraling into a you know what hole, man. The world is not what it used to be. But this is not the 1950s anymore. This is not the 1940s anymore. This is not the age of the Industrial Revolution. This is not the age of rapid economy growth, man. You see those old pictures of the Edomites, building skyscrapers, and they don't have no, safety gear on, and they got the lunch pail, and they working and they build, and they show the montage of black and white and doing the work in the city. Those days are over. Those days are behind you. Forget about it. Now the roads are broken up. And when you look up America's infrastructure rate, it got a D+, man. America infrastructure ranking. I believe they had a D- last year. I don't want to go too deep into it. Look at this. Declining global ranking of U.S. infrastructure. Right? Or a C-. See that? A C-. Now, Babylon the Great is supposed to be the top country, man. They got a C-. The roads are horrible. The bridges are falling apart. You go to certain buildings to say the damn last time they checked the elevator or the building said 99, and nobody's keeping up with the infrastructure. The road, again, everything's falling apart, man. The damn plumbing system, you got all these pipe bursts. The power grid, they keep getting blackouts and rolling blackouts. The society is falling apart. Now you got people, I'm not sure if brother saw this, I think it was Bank of America. People that got Bank of America now, they having a hard time getting their money out. They showed this video, a few videos of people in the Bank of America trying to withdraw their money, and the Bank of America said, hey, look, you got to deal with it. Pretty much told them, hey, look, it is what it is. Talk to customer service. We can't do nothing for you. And those guys, they was mad, man. They put their head down because they can't really do nothing about it. People losing money. The banks ain't what they used to be. That's all a sign of the times. All a sign of the times, and the world's major economic engines sputter. So economies are waxing worse and worse. The development lender said it expected global GDP growth of 1.7% in 2023, the slowest pace outside the 2009 and 2020 recessions since 1993. So things ain't looking up, right? Things ain't looking too good. In its previous Global Economic Prospects report in June 2022, the bank had forecast a growth in 2023 at 3%. So they cut it down, man, almost in half. Let's go down a little bit. Its forecast global growth in 2024 to pick up in 2.7%. That's what they say. Below the 2.9 estimate for 2022. right, and said average growth for the 2020 through 2024 period would be under 2%. The slowest pace, the slowest 5-year pace since 1960. The bank said major slowdowns and advanced economies, including sharp cuts to its forecast to 0.5% for the US and flat GDP for the Eurozone, could foreshadow a new global recession less than 3 years after the last one. Right? So things ain't looking too good, man. Things are not looking too good. And I saw this earlier. Venezuela's inflation slows to 234%. So that they're basically done. 234%. So these places not looking too good, man. The European Central Bank, Federal Reserve, America has basically capped out on their debt limit on how much they could borrow. So America's not the society that you thought it was. They're pretty much, they used to be a great attractive whore, man, to these other nations. But now, they turn into that her makeup coming off, man. Her makeup coming off, she getting out of shape, she getting old, she getting wrinkles, and she's falling apart, man, becoming frailer and weaker. So I'm not going to read this whole article, right? You can read it on your own. It says, I'm going to just read a little bit more. Weakness in growth and business investment will compound the already devastating reversals in education, health, poverty, and infrastructure, and increasing demands for climate change, World Bank President David Malpass said in a statement. They're going into China. China, their growth slumped down, right? 2.7%. World Bank dealing with inflation. So things are getting bad, man. The bank called for increased support from the international community to help low-income countries deal with food and energy shocks, people displaced by conflicts, and a growing risk of debt crisis. It said new concessional financing and grants are needed, along with the leveraging of private capital and domestic resources to help boost investment in climate adaptation, human capital health, the report said. So basically that they straining at a gnat, right? They're wishful thinking, but this place is going down. Most economies are going down the drain. And things aren't what they used to be. Prices are only going to increase. Food prices, they're only going to increase. As we approach closer to doomsday, economies will break apart. The Lord broke apart the Egyptian economy. He's breaking apart this economy. He broke apart the Roman Empire and their economy. And the Lord is doing it on the earth right now. Let's get that in the scriptures. Let's go to Ecclesiastes chapter 12. So if you have hopes and dreams of really making it in America, you need to wake up. You need to wake the hell up, man, and let go and stop looking back and holding on to this place, man. Worried about, what's going to happen to you in 30 years in America, man. Right? Let's go to the book of Ecclesiastes chapter 12 and verse. We'll start at 4. Ecclesiastes 12 and 4. And the door shall be shut in the streets when the sound of the grinding is low. And he shall rise up at the voice of the bird, and all the daughters of music shall be brought low. So what does this mean? The sound of the grinding is low. Now your grinding represents your workforce, right? That represents your worker ants, for lack of better terms, that keep the society flourishing. Bus drivers, construction workers, these guys that keep this place rolling. Like the Lord said, they essentially maintain the state of the world. So that is Sirach chapter 38, 34 on down. But the sound of the grinding is getting low, man. Things aren't what they used to be. Even banks, like we brought out earlier, banks are holding on to people's money. You may try to go swipe your card, your debit or whatever, and it just don't work. You go online, you check your account, and you have a damn withdrawal of $2,000. You go to the bank, they say, look, it is what it is. You know? And that's what's happening with the Bank of America. Things aren't what they used to be, man. People want to start trying to take their money out of the banks, but the money's going to become obsolete, and your cash is going to be worthless. So that's your global recession. Let me pull that back up. The world could tip into a global recession in 2023. Along with that, you have, let me pull this up. Global food prices in 2022 hit a record high amid drought and war. Now, this was just posted, right? Not today, but recently. January 7th, 2023. They did the math. They brought it out. They called their top men, and they said, look, prices in 2022 was the highest it has ever been due to drought and war. And the Most High is only going to have more war come on the earth. More war, more destruction, which is going to lead to more famine, more scarcity of food, more riots, more sedition, and more anarchy and chaos and selling out on the earth. Drought and war will continue. You have entire rivers drying up throughout the world. Of course, you got the Euphrates River. Everybody knows that. You got rivers in China drying up. You have rivers turning red. You got rivers in Babylon the Great drying up. You got oceans dry. You got the Most High has a drought on the earth. And war. Let's go to the book of Jeremiah, chapter 28 and 8. Right? Let's go to Jeremiah, the 28th chapter and the 8th verse. So guess what, man? Food prices, eggs already, like a brother sent the video. A brother in Vegas sent the video, and the eggs were, I think, $32. $32 for some eggs. Jeremiah 28 and 8. The prophets that have been before me and before thee of old prophesied both against many countries and against great kingdoms, of war and of evil and of pestilence. So that's what we prophesy about. We're not going to tell you everything's going to be okay. If you want to hear everything's going to be okay, go to church, right? Go to Sunday school at 9 a.m. and sit in them nasty pews. But if you want to hear the truth, hey, open up the Bible, man, and get it from Yahweh Bashem Yahweh Shai. Jeremiah, Noah, Enoch, Isaiah, all of these men, Elisha, when they prophesied against many countries. They're not for these worldly heathen ran kingdoms. We prophesy against America. We prophesy against NATO. We prophesy against China. We prophesy against Japan. We tell them that war is coming. Evil like droughts, famines, and pestilence, man. And that goes hand in hand. Where is it set? Global food prices in 2022 hit a record high amid drought and war. Let's see. Global prices for food commodities like grain and vegetable oils were the highest on record last year, even after falling for 9 months in a row. The UN Food and Agricultural Organization said, as Russia's war in Ukraine, drought, and other factors drove up inflation and worsened hunger worldwide. The FAO, which is the Food and Agricultural Organization, which tracks monthly changes in the international prices of commonly traded food commodities, dipped by 1.9% in December from a month earlier. The Rome-based, check that out, the Rome-based organization said Friday, for the whole year, it averaged 143.7 points, more than 14% above the 2021 average, which also saw large increases. So things are getting bad, right? Things aren't, man, it's going to get to the point where people not even going to want to be polite about it. And when I say that, people are going to go to these stores and they just going to start taking stuff, man. You know, and like we always say, that you got security there, and they're not going to do anything about it because they looking to eat too. They're going to be doing what they have to do. The workers, people, these guys that drive the trucks. They have family, man. All that food in the back of their truck. Hey, one of those guys, they're going to make a split decision and they're going to, wherever GPS, they're going to plug that joint and they're going to drive the hell home, man. They're going to load that stuff up and they're not taking that food to your local grocery store, man. These truck drivers, they may start taking it home. People, highway bandits may try to rob them. People looting inside the stores. You know? People, hey, looting is at an all-time high too, man. Calmer food come out, and that's going to lead to food riots. Right? If you ever looked up history, they've always had food riots. Let's see, food riots in history. We'll just pull that up. Right? Food riots. And there's a whole list of food riots. So when it comes to Babylon the Great, don't think it's nothing new. Anytime there's a scarcity of food, the people rebel. Right? And I'm not going to read this entire thing, but they have salt riots, the Novgorod uprising of 1650, the Boston bread riots, the flour war, right? The flour riot, the potato riot, the bread riots. Look at this, the 1917 potato riots. A food shortage during World War I caused a food rebellion in the Dutch capital city of Amsterdam, July 1917. See that? So there's going to be food rebellions because ain't nothing to eat. And people they're going to take food from these farms. They're going to go to these warehouses, these Walmart warehouses, Sam's Club, Costco's, BJ's, Amazon fulfillment centers with food. And they're going, hey, look, people going to do what they got to do. People used to be polite and I wouldn't do that. I would never do that. And, you know, things that people said they would never do, they're going to start doing it because they're not going to have no other choice. They don't have Yahweh Bashim Yahushua. So they're going to start losing their mind. You had the rice riots in 1918 in Japan. Let's see. You had a massacre, Salakia, in Russia, where 87 people got wounded over no food. The 1970 Polish protest sparked by a sudden increase of controlled prices of food. And that's what it's going to be. They're going to start controlling the prices, man, which they already do. Hey, look, if you want to get these eggs, $25. It is what it is. People are only going to pay that $25 for so long, so they don't have it no more. Pay that bread for $15. Milk for $35. And Esau do that on purpose. It's not an accident. He does these things on purpose, right? To cause chaos and bring order out of chaos. That's his quote. But there's a Latin way of saying, I can't think of it right now, but it's out of order chaos. So these are riots over controlled prices of food and scarcity of food. Look, 1989 riots in Argentina. A series of riots and related episodes of looting in stores and supermarkets in Argentina during the last part of the presidency of Raul Alfonsín between May and June in 1989. Right? So, you know, you can't get around this. They got one in South Africa that just happened. Venezuela, Sri Lanka. So next thing you know, the American food riot is going to be on here. The United States of American food riot started in damn New York or LA, Chicago, Miami, Houston, Seattle, DC, Baltimore, Detroit. All it takes is 1 to 2 people. Let's go back to this. Let's go back to this article. So food prices, things are not looking good. This is not looking good. With critical Black Sea supplies disrupted, meaning food coming from Ukraine and Russia, food prices rose to record highs, increasing inflation, poverty, and food insecurity in developing nations that rely on imports. The war also jolted energy markets and fertilizer supplies, both key to food production. Yeah, there was a fertilizer shortage, and I think there still is one. So if you don't have any fertilizer, you can't grow your crops. You can't grow your crops, you can't get no food. So that fertilizer shortage is paramount. That was on top of climate shocks that have fueled starvation in places like the Horn of Africa. Ethiopia, Somalia, and Kenya are badly affected by the worst drought in decades, with the UN warning that parts of Somalia are facing famine. Thousands of people have already died. See that? Prices for wheat and corn reached a record high last year, though they fell in December along with the cost of other grains, the FAO said. It said harvests in the Southern Hemisphere boosted supplies and there was strong competition among exporters. So food, things not looking too bright for food. Sometimes you have your up and down. Sometimes it kind of skyrockets. Sometimes it goes back down. Then it skyrockets again. Then it goes back down. Nevertheless, the famine is inevitable. You will have a famine in the earth. Let's go to Ezekiel chapter 5. Right? So don't let the so-called white man fool you and make you think things are going to be all right. They may be all right for a week, maybe a month, 2 months, 7 months, but the famine is inevitable. The controlled food prices and the scarcity of food is going to lead to rebellion, which will in fact lead to martial law. Ezekiel 5, I'm going to start at 10. Therefore the fathers shall eat the sons in the midst of thee, and the sons shall eat their fathers, and I will execute judgments in thee, and the whole remnant of thee will I scatter into the winds. So the Most High said it's going to get so bad that fathers are going to start eating their sons. Yeah, this is how the Most High get down, man. It's not a parable. That is not a dark saying. Fathers are going to start eating their sons. Sons are going to start eating their fathers. This is the wrath of the Most High. These are his judgments on the earth. People pushing their father down, hit him stop the back of the head with a rock or a billy club. Right? Just committing all types of evil, man. Let's go to the book of 2nd Ezra. Right? Let's go to 2nd Ezra chapter 15. Right? So you have the economy crashing. You got food prices increasing. You got the Doomsday Clock being brought out tomorrow at 10 a.m. amongst other things. 2nd Ezra chapter 15 and verse 18. For because of their pride, the city shall be troubled, the houses shall be destroyed, and men shall be afraid. A man shall have no pity upon his neighbor, but shall destroy their houses with the sword, and spoil their goods because of the lack of bread and for great tribulation. So people are going to be robbing their neighbor for food. You might have went to his cookout. You might have had a flat. You might have helped him kind of change, the nuts and put his tire on there, or you might have asked him to use his ladder. You kind of went up there and had to fix your shingles on your roof. And maybe say, hey, neighbor. And he said, hey, neighbor, how you doing, man? These neighbors that are kind of cool, they kind of know each other. They say hi when they taking their groceries in the house and one going to work. Hey, look, People aren't going to be so friendly anymore. The Most High said, iniquity shall abound, and the love of many shall wax cold. So people ain't going to pity their neighbor. If they hear some food, right, they got their ear down to the window, peeking up, because they're going to open up their cabinets first. And they ain't going to see no food. They're going to open up their refrigerator, ain't going to be no food. Same thing with the freezer and the pantry. So they're going to go next door and knock on the door and ask, hey, look, do you have something to eat? And at first, the neighbor might give them something. The neighbor might say, here, yeah, I got an extra loaf of bread. Here's some bread for you. He might say, thank you, man. Thank you. I know, things are bad. He might say, yeah, man, this economy crazy. And he might take that bread and say, yeah, thanks, man. I appreciate you. Good looking out. You've always been a good neighbor. So he'll go home and divvy out that bread to his family. But then that bread is going to run out. So he's going to go back to his neighbor and knock on that door. Hey, look, you got anything? And that neighbor might say, yeah, I got you, man. He say, look, I know how it is. I've been down bad too. He might give him some more food. He might give him some canned goods. He might give him some stuff. So he go home, give it to his family, they eat. Then he come back the third time. Now your neighbor, like, damn, I'm not answering for this guy. Because the neighbor, he running out of food. Kind of look out the blinds. No, that's him again. His woman tell him, look, don't answer. We need to eat. So he tell everybody be quiet in the house, man. To act like nobody's home. Then the neighbor knock again. Now the knock getting a little bit louder, man. So the neighbor might go home, say, look, maybe he's not home. But then that neighbor's going to come back again. And he's going to start beating at that door, man. Because his stomach is growling. And his kids are screaming. Then you're going to start kind of beating that door down, man. And if he beat that door down, hey, guess what, man? Like we always say, either look, he's stronger than you, or you're going to have to be stronger than him. But somebody's going to have to win. Because if he win, he taking your food. If you win, hey, look, you got him. People going to be losing their mind over food, man. People going to be boarding up their houses, rationing out their food, lying and looting. Things are going to get bad. Things are going to get bad, man. Grocery stores getting looted. Let's go to second. Things ain't always going to be easy. You ain't always going to just wake up, have your food in the refrigerator, and you know what's going on, and you got your food stamps, and then you pick this up, you go to aisle 5. No, look, man, these things are coming slowly to an end. 2nd Ezra 16:22. For many of them that dwell upon earth shall perish of famine, and the other that escape the hunger shall the sword destroy. So you can't get around that, right? You can't get around that. If you living on the earth, you're going to die of famine. No food. Not going to be able to get the food. And even if you escape the hunger, you're going to die by the sword. Maybe you get robbed. Maybe your house get broken into. Maybe you get drafted to World War III. These are the things that are coming during this global food crisis as they begin to hit a record high. What else is going on in the earth? You have massive populations increasing. So here's the Ammonites. This is from today. It's now or never to stop Japan's shrinking population, right? So the Ammonites, along with the Edomites and other nations, they have a negative birth rate. Let me pull this back up. The Most High is cutting. Salaki, bear with me 1 second. Let me, they talking about is now or never, right? Bear with me 1 second. Okay, Consulaki, let me pull this back up. All right, the water for the patience. So dealing with the Ammonites. Now, the Ammonites is the biblical name of the so-called Japanese man. They say it's now or never to stop Japan's shrinking population, Prime Minister says. Now, not only is the Most High breaking economies down, breaking the food supply down, he's also breaking the population of these nations down. The Ammonites have a negative shrinking population, just like the Edomites, right? The Edomites, the so-called white man, they have a negative birth rate. What will the white population be in 2030, right? So they're slowly getting cut down 47% to damn 46%, man. So this thing is happening amongst all these different nations, or predominantly these different nations. The white demographic decline is largely attributable to its older age structure when compared to other race and ethnic groups. This leads to fewer births and more deaths relative to its population size. So more Edomites are dying than actually being born. More Ammonites are really going through the same thing, man. Dying than actually being born. But Israel, you can't number Israel, right? We're like the sand of the sea. You can't say, okay, well, there's this many Israelites over here, or you got 10,000 right here. Don't believe the so-called white man when he does his census, right? Don't believe that. There's so-and-so built. You don't know how many people it actually is on earth. Because that means you have to know how to number the Israelites. Now, in the book of Numbers, it says who can number the fourth part of Israel. Right? So you can't number how many of us it is. Japanese Prime Minister Fumio Kishida pledged on Monday to take urgent steps to tackle the country's declining birth rate, saying it was now or never for one of the world's oldest societies. Japan has in recent years been trying to encourage its people to have more children. You don't have to encourage Israelites to have more children, right? That's one thing you don't have to do for us, man. Can y'all please have more children? Can you please? Do you have to encourage Judah, Ephraim, Issachar, Benjamin, Gad, Naphtali, Zebulun to have more children? Okay, look, I need y'all to get together and you deal with. See, we're a different type of people, man. The Lord said in Exodus, the more they afflicted them, the more they grew. So as we approach the end of the world, the birth rate of these nations is going down the drain, and the amount of Israelites that are being born, I mean, it increases day by day. And that's how it's going to be in the kingdom. There's going to be so many Israelites on the earth, and these heathen are going to be few. And the so-called white man, after a period of time, he's not going to be around anymore. Right? This is the book of Exodus, chapter 1 and 12. But the more they afflicted them, the more they grew, and they were grieved because of the children of Israel. You see that? So the more we get afflicted, the more we grow. The more these nations and their economy get afflicted, where is it at? The more they began to diminish. And I'm not going to read this whole article, right? But this just shows you what the Most High is doing on the earth. The Most High is drying out these heathen. The Most High is cutting their population down, cutting their posterity off, shutting their economies down, shutting their infrastructure down, shutting their food down, and just outright decimating these heathens, man. This is what the Most High is doing in the last days to these strange nations. Now, there's something else. Let's see. Okay, here's something else I want to get into. Okay, United States, Israel launch a week of major military exercises. So now you have to sound the battle in the land as well. Now, why are they doing military exercises? Because the Most High is making them do so. You have Iran being an enemy, Russia is a major enemy. You understand? These are major adversaries, North Korea to United States and Israel. So they're doing military exercises, linking up because they know a sound of battle is in the land and of great destruction. Russia and China do military drills all the time, right? They even had North Korea link up with Russia and China, and they all did a joint military exercise. Now you got Babylon the Great and Israel doing a week long of major military exercises. So this from today. The U.S. and Israel on Monday launched what one U.S. official described as the Allies' most significant joint military exercise to date, involving thousands of forces, a dozen ships, 142 aircraft, including what? Nuclear capable bombers. Why are they training and using aircraft and ships that can hold nuclear bombs? Because they plan on using these things. The days are coming where somebody's going to drop a nuclear bomb and it's going to catch the world by storm, man. And we're hoping this bomb is dropped sooner than later. Nuclear capable bombers, right? This is biblical prophecy. The Lord said in Jeremiah 50 and 22 that a sound of battle is in the land, right? So, let me get that real quick. Jeremiah 50, right? Jeremiah chapter 50. Don't just think it's Russia and Ukraine. And just because things are kind of quiet now on the global war forefront doesn't mean it's going to remain that way. The Most High can speed things up just like that, and he can slow things down just like that, man. Let's go to Jeremiah chapter 50, right? Jeremiah 50. And they said that's one of the top military drills they did to date. So they're pulling out all stops. They're getting ready for something that the world isn't ready for. Jeremiah 50 and 22. A sound of battle is in the land and of great destruction. So it's only a matter of time. We're just watching and waiting, hoping and longing for one of these nations to actually drop a bomb, for somebody to take things a little too far, for somebody to assassinate a world leader, somebody to drop a bomb on a city, to do something. Do something. But the point of the matter is the Most High has war drums being beat in the earth and great destruction being talked about in the earth. A week long. And these drills have nuclear capable bombers on it, man. Nuclear capable bombers. The Juniper Oak drills, which will run through Friday, are meant to demonstrate and deepen integration between the U.S. and Israeli militaries. The senior U.S. defense official said, and come at a time of growing tension over Iran's nuclear program. Although the drills will likely draw interest from Tehran, right, that's Iran, the U.S. official said there would be no mock-ups of Iranian targets and that the exercises weren't oriented around any particular adversary. We don't believe that. They're not doing that for fun. They're doing that because they know Russia is an adversary. Iran, China are adversaries. They're not doing that because they don't have nothing else to do. So don't believe Esau, well, we don't know why we're doing this. There's no adversary. He's the damn devil. Right? Let's see. It reads, I do think that the scale of the exercise is relevant to a whole range of scenarios, and Iran may draw certain inferences from that. The official acknowledged. I want Iran to bomb them while they're doing these drills, and Russia. I want them to fly one of their planes a little too close for comfort and kind of crash into one of their planes, man. We want something to go down. We actually pray that the Most High magnify his name through war and judgments in the earth, man. We want the Most High, because when war comes, you have famine that goes with that. You may have to draft. Economies begin to dwindle down in process of time. So we want war to kick off. Slaki, it's really meant mostly to kick the tires on our ability. Okay, I got Brother Yaradon in the background. Right, let me get Yaradon in there. All right, Shalom, King.
So can you hear me?
God. Okay, so it reads, it's really meant mostly to kick the tires on our ability to do things at this scale with the Israelis against a whole range of different threats. Right? So these are the days you're living in. The exercises, let's talk about it, will include live fire exercises and involve 6,400 U.S. Forces area George H.W. Bush strike group, some 450 troops on the ground in Israel, the official said. Beyond B-52 bombers, the U.S. aircraft will include F-35s, F-15s, F-16s, F-18s. Drills will take place over large distances involving land, sea, air, and space. Why are they going in space? Esau's going to get his space force, man. Land, sea, air, and space, because that's the new thing, space warfare. The official said, right? So you have to look at all of these prophecies coming to pass on the earth. Look at the famine coming on the earth. Look at the global recession on the earth. Look at the economies dwindling. Look at the UFOs, or what we call the chariots, or the Most High calls the chariots of Israel and the horsemen thereof, man. Look at those manifesting themselves by the Spirit of the Lord. How can you not tell we're living in the last days? You will have to be watching to know what time we live in. If you're not watching, you think nothing is really happening. Nothing major is happening because you're not watching the prophecies. You're not in tune with the spirit of prophecy. You're just in this thing, man. So let me get this. What else we have? Okay, U.S. steps up pressure on Turkey to ratify NATO's Nordic. What is this? Slovakia. Okay, U.S. steps up pressure on Turkey to ratify NATO's Nordic expansion. So Sweden and Finland want to join. Turkey say, we ain't doing that. U.S. said, Turkey, you better do that. Turkey say, the hell with you. We're going to do what we want to do. So you got division amongst NATO, like you always had and you always will have. Turkey is beefing with Sweden and Finland. Now, Turkey, like we've always been saying, we believe Turkey is going to break off of NATO and link up biblically with Russia and China and these other countries in the North Quarters. Because Turkey, they really don't belong. They don't really fit in with NATO. NATO's like these Edomite type of nations, man. Now you do got Edomites in Turkey, but they really got they got a different spirit. They got that ancient Ottoman Turk warlike spirit. So that's why they always butt heads with these Edomites, man. You know? And they pretty much do what they want to do in NATO. Now, NATO is the North Atlantic Treaty Organization, a military alliance consisting of Canada, Russia, Canada, Babylon the Great, and Western European powers. They are the fighting force of the so-called white race on a geopolitical level. Turkey they kind of leaning towards Russia. They kind of leaning towards the kings of the East. But this is the beginning. These are these 10 toes kind of dividing themselves, man. Now look at this. The U.S. signaled growing impatience with Turkey over its resistance to ratify NATO's expansion to Sweden and Finland. And for sake of time, we're not going to read this whole thing, but this is also prophecy pursuant to Daniel, the 2nd chapter. Right? Let me get this real quick. Now, we're kind of getting pressed for time. Let's go to Daniel chapter 2. Right? Let's go to Daniel, the 2nd chapter. These are the 10 toes being divided. Partly strong, partly weak. Daniel chapter 2 and 43. I'm going to start at 42. So you read about these 10 toes. The 10 toes represent NATO and the EU, essentially. Right? The same thing as the 10 horns. And the toes of the feet were part of iron and part of clay. So the kingdom shall be partly strong and partly broken. So NATO has the strength of the Roman Empire, but it's also partly broken due to the political division that they have amongst each other. Turkey and Greece, they always fight. Now Turkey is fighting against potential members, Sweden and Finland. And Turkey is bucking up against America. And nobody's supposed to buck up against America, but Turkey say, hey, the hell with you, man. You're not who you used to be. We don't respect you anymore. America say, hey, look, we still those guys. Turkey say, you used to be. Your words don't really carry the weight that they used to anymore. So we're not going to ratify Finland and Sweden. We may not do it now, but we're not listening to you anymore. So now you got this empire being partly strong and partly broken. Yahushua said it best. A nation divided against, or a kingdom divided against itself shall not stand. Right? Daniel 2 and 43. And whereas thou sawest iron mixed with miry clay, they shall mingle themselves with the seed of men, but they shall not cleave one to another. Even as iron is not mixed with clay. So they don't cleave one to another. There's division, tension, backbiting, reveling, rebellion. And Turkey, like we say, Turkey, they don't really have that NATO spirit, right? They got more of a rogue kind of wild man spirit, but they're just in NATO for security, man, because they feared the so-called white man. They don't really fear him no more. So they pretty much defy him publicly. So these are the things that are happening in the earth. Another thing, so-called Madonna and two pedophiles, man. This is another thing going on the earth. The Most High is exposing these celebrities on a massive level. These celebrities, what they do is they adopt little Jake children. They pimp them out. Sometimes they be Hamites. They eat. It's a lot. Oh, go ahead, Yaradan. You gonna say something?
I was going to say, if you've been in the truth for a while, I mean, we've seen this a mile away. You don't got to be like a super spiritual person to kind of perceive that she's doing something raunchy with those kids. Some real defiled and corrupt and just nasty down to the bones.
Yeah, I mean, what are you doing, man? What is she doing? She's taking them, and like I said, she's doing maybe 3 to 5 things. She's either selling them, but she's being exposed. The Most High bringing that to light because they've been doing this. The Most High is bringing it out now. Either they're selling them on the black market, they're harvesting their organs, they're eating them and draining their blood for adrenochrome and all types of things. I don't even know if we could say that, but we said it. What else they doing? Turning them into women.
Yep.
Emasculating them and turning them into females. Let me get this precept in Luke 12 and 2. Right? Luke chapter 12 and 2. Madonna has to be, I don't even know how old she is. I'm going to pull it up. She got to be in her damn 70s. Let's see how old Madonna is. But then when you see her, she don't look like the rest of these older so-called Edomite women. And why is that? Let me see this. Madonna. How old is Madonna? Madonna. Okay, she was born. Hold on, where we at? Because she was born in 1958. She's 64. 60 damn 4, man. You know, but when you see her, some days she look old, and some days she look young. So what's going on? Why does this 60 and look at the average 64-year-old white woman? Let's pull up a 64-year-old white woman. See if we can Google that. All right, see if we can get a white woman on here. I should have typed in old white woman. The damn Golden Girls. Right? Now, Madonna, look at this. This is a 64-year-old white woman. Absolutely horrific. Disgusting. Right? And they look about as old as they are. But then you got some of these older celebrity women. Now you can say, okay, it's just plastic surgery. It's not just plastic surgery. Right? They're into sorcery, witchcraft, right? Spells, blood, and madness, man. That's why. Oh, you got it showing?
Just for the comparison, Madonna and that old lady.
Okay, hold on, let me show it. Let me close this out so you could show that. Hold on. See that?
And just in case Jake may be saying, well, makeup. Look, we know makeup is deceiving, but you gotta be real. There's pictures of her without makeup, and she still look young. I seen it live.
Right. See that? Right? And look at this. Look at this. She's being brought out on the forefront. Look at this. Of trafficking, man. They go to these so-called third world countries and they take these children and they turn them to domestics, or they sell them, or they pimp them out, or they emasculate them and turn them into women. Look at this. Ethiopian World Federation has made a surprising petition against Madonna, child trafficking, and fear of social experiments rendered on Malawian children. More accusations to resurface. Look at her, like a kid in the candy store, full of lust. And they should never let this so-called white woman around them, huh? Now you can see the same thing with what?
No, that was just a bad picture. That's awful.
Right now, that's right. Now look at this one. Let's see. Charlize Theron kids. Now look what she did with her sons. Brother's probably seen this. Both she adopted. I believe there was 2 Jakes, 2 Israelite boys, and she ended up turning these turn them into women, man. I mean, just making them dress like a woman, putting a dress on them, a skirt, doing affirmations. You are a girl. You are a woman. Right? Buying up there, and she was doing this since they was kids. Look at this. See that? This is a sick, filthy place. This is a sick, nasty kingdom. See, Jake gets CPS called on them when they hit their kid a little too hard. You Esau, where's CPS at for the so-called white man? When you turn a boy into a woman. That's where this society gotta go, man. And it's just full of villainy. This is a boy. Look at this. See that? The Lord said, thy sons and thy daughters shall be given unto another people, and thine eyes shall look and fail, but longing for them all the day long, and there should be no might in thy hand. Thou shalt beget sons and daughters, and thou shalt not enjoy them, for they shall go into captivity. Right? For they shall go into captivity. Bear with me. So you can't get around this. She's being brought to light. So-called Madonna is being brought to light. Let me pull that back up. Madonna. Madonna. I can't even spell her name. Right, that's okay. All right, Madonna trafficking. Accused of trafficking in Malawi. Now this just happened. Huh? Now how are they going to cover this up? And you think she's the only one? All of these celebrities do it, man. Angelina Jolie, Brad Pitt, all of these celebrities go overseas and take children and do God knows what with them. So the Most High is bringing this stuff to light. He's bringing it on the forefront. Look at this. Several reports have confirmed that pop icons and sexually exploiting children by a charity organization called the Ethiopian World Federation. So Kush has had enough, man. The company website stated that the EWF is a civic service organization that pushes policies and advocate the laws that harm black people. Right? You see that? So I'm not going to read this whole article. Okay, look at this one. Hold on. The group alleges that Madonna used her Malawian adopted son, David Banda, for sexual exploitation and social experiments. The petition cites the photos of David wearing women's clothes, makeup, and jewelry. The EWF also claims that Madonna made false statements that David's dad was absent when she applied for adoption. You see that? So these are the things we have to deal with. Now you do got Jake scattered amongst them. Some of these are Hamites, but some of them are Jake, man. Because Jake is going to live out those curses. Let me get this precept in Luke chapter 12. Right? Luke 12 and 2, for there is nothing covered that shall not be revealed, neither hid that shall not be known. So all of the secrets of these celebrities, the secrets of these different societies, ceremonies are coming to light. The Most High is putting everything on the forefront. You got World War III on the horizon. You have war drills going on. You have a recession to look forward to in America. You got banks holding on to people's money. Right? I mean, you have so much going on in the earth, man. Chariot sightings. And that all stems back to the Doomsday Clock. The Doomsday Clock is ticking. They're going to reveal it, Lord willing, tomorrow at 10 a.m. Right? And the question lays on the table, what time will it be in 2023? Based off of the prophecies, the current events, the state of the world, what are they going to change the Doomsday Clock to at 10 a.m. on Tuesday? Right, but with that, we're going to wind down. Yardan, you got a closing precept?
It's Matthew 24 and 3. And he sat upon the Mount of Olives. The disciples came unto him privately, saying, Tell us, when shall these things be? and what shall be the signs of thy coming and of the end of the world, right? And even the apostles, they look forward to it, right? They wanted to know. If they didn't, they wouldn't have asked, right? So, we got to look forward to the end times, That's it.
I keep watch. It's like it. Brothers got to keep watch. You got to keep watching the prophecies. Don't keep your mind off of the end of the world. The Lord said, where your heart is, there where your treasure is, there will your heart be also. So if you're always thinking about the world, women, cars, money, your job, folly, you're going to give your all into it. But if you always are thinking about the kingdom and thinking about these prophecies and the end of the world, it's going to stir your spirit up to get closer to the Most High through prayer, through fasting, through reading, through studying. Once you see what the Most High is doing, a righteous, wise man will hide himself from the evil. That's Proverbs 22 and 3. A wise man or a prudent man foreseeth the evil and hideth himself. So we foresee the evil and the judgments that the Most High is doing. And we're going to hide ourselves where? In his word, in the secret place of the Almighty, under the shadow and shade of Yahweh Shai. We're not going to hide in the hold or in the closet. We're going to hide ourselves under the wings of Yahweh Bashem Yahweh Shai, man. Right? Let's get Revelation chapter 22 and 12. That's where we're going to hide. Right? Revelation chapter 22 and verse 12. It reads, and behold, I come quickly, and my reward is with me to give every man according as his work shall be. So brothers have to remember that the Most High said Yahweh Shai will come like a thief in the night. And he meant that. That's plain. At any given second, things can go down. It can speed up quick. Things can hit the fan. So what manner of persons ought you to be in these last days, man? What type of work are you putting in? Are you slothful? Are you lukewarm? Are you just deceiving yourself? Are you just going through the motions? Is this truth becoming a chore to you? Right? Is it just like a burden? Or are you zealous? And are you in love with this thing, man? What type of work are you doing? What type of charity are you doing? Men that teach on the highways and byways, man. What type of work are you doing? Brothers that are husbands and fathers, man. What type of work are you doing in your household, man? Sisters that are mothers and daughters and sisters. What type of work are you doing in your nation, man? Does Proverbs 31 give a whole list of work that she do? What kind of ones do you do? Which ones don't you do? And why not? Where are you at in this thing, man? Where are you at? Prayer is labor. What do you pray just once a day, twice a day? What do you just fast once a year? All of this is work that we got to put in. Studying is work. Reading is work. Taking notes is work. The Most High is going to render unto every man according as his work shall be. How you love your brother, man. Sacrifice is work. How you treat your wife. That's work. What type of work are you in these last days, man? But with that, we're going to close up, giving, of course, our honor and glory to Yahweh. Bahashima Mashiach Malak Yahushai. We're going to take questions for those who do have questions. You can call in, like we always set up, at 213-603-9096. And again, that's 213-603-9096. The PIN number is 94809-305. Right? That's 94809-305. It should be on the live chat. With that, we're going to close up. Brother Naquam.
Brother Yardan.
Kwame Yashala. Shalom.